Welcome to Checked Out, a new podcast from the Cincinnati and Hamilton County Public Library. My name is Joe Armstrong, and I am your literary guide as we take you through all things books, what to read, what types of books are coming out, new things on the horizon, and what your library staff are reading. Today, to kick us off, we've got two fantastic guests for you. The first is Maggie Killman, the branch manager at the Wyoming Branch Library. Maggie, thanks for joining us today.
Hello.
And joining Maggie today with us, we've got Jessica Rinaudo, our brand manager, right here at the main library downtown.
Hello.
All right, today we're going to talk recommendations. What are some great reads for kids, teens, and adults? And not only that, at the end of this conversation, Maggie and Jessica are also going to recommend books for each other based on the types of things that they've learned through this process. So Maggie, let's dive right in. What are you reading right now?
I am reading a couple of different things. One, I spend a lot of time reading books with my son, which is one of the best things you can do with kids, to help them learn to love reading. And his big passion right now is Star Wars. He is 3.5 and he just found out this wide, wonderful world of Star Wars. And something that I have found will just like really capture his attention are these Star Wars visual dictionaries. So we spend a lot of time looking at those. I love them for like how browsable they are, especially for like kids with budding passions to just kind of like flip through, find different things that they want to read about and find interesting, check out new ideas and facts. He can name all the different parts of the Millennium Falcon now, which is more than I ever thought that I wanted to know about Star Wars in particular. But it's been so much fun watching his curiosity just like absolutely bloom and explore. But Jessica, you have slightly older kids, so
I do. And
are you still reading with them
too? Yeah. So kids have all different learning abilities, and I have found that some of my children need a little extra helping hand when it comes to reading books. So I often sit down and read books with them. My 12-year-old, for instance, we just finished up reading one called El Defo, which is a graphic novel that was excellent. So we did that. I have some that are 10 who, my son has loved these Real Pigeon books since he was very, very small. And so we continue to read those together.
Tell me a little more about the Real Pigeon books.
Oh man, they are these pigeons that live in the city, and they're all different kinds of pigeons. There's real derpy ones and real smart ones.
Are these
and
like
they
chapter
go on
books?
missions. Yeah, but they're graphic novels too,
Okay.
a little bit, and they go on missions together in the city. And they all have all kinds of different personalities, and it's real goofy and fun, and we get a good kick out of laughing at them. Definitely okay for younger kids too. I would say like 6 to, I feel like 10's kind of on the outer edge, but we've been reading them for so long that we just keep doing it.
Yeah, something I love so much about like the graphic fiction for kids is that it can really help them bridge as they're like just learning to read. Because when we're reading picture books together, you know, it's so wonderful, warm, and engaging. And then having the support of like added pictures, but like the text gets more complex as you're like, and especially themes like with El Defo. Like that's a really,
Oh, it's so good.
Yeah, it's such a beautiful story. It's a graphic memoir,
Yes,
right?
it is.
Yeah, of someone's experience growing up deaf.
With a rabbit though, as the main character.
Which adds, yeah, like just another layer of fun to help it make it more accessible for kids to engage with, you know, different experiences.
Exactly.
Which is so cool. Yeah. Exactly. All right.
What other, are you reading any books for you these days?
I am. So I am in the middle of a series, and I've been talking about this a lot with my friends because it has been a process for me to learn to like these books. So many of you out there may have read A Court of Thorns and Roses.
Including me.
I'm a big fantasy lover. I have read many different kinds of fantasy over the years, and I decided to pick these up and give them a try. I missed the like big wave several years ago when it felt like everybody was reading it. And I was listening to the audiobook and I couldn't get into it. And then I came back and I tried again, and it was okay, like an interesting world, but it felt like it was just kind of like a little vacant. And I was like, what are people talking about? So I started talking with my friends about it, and they just all said, keep going.
Keep going to the second book.
Keep going. So now I'm into the second one, which is A Court of Mist and Fury, and they were right. It is amazing what a difference the second book makes. And mostly what I found is that the narrator is actually, like the protagonist is actually getting to experience the world, whereas in the first book, she's very closed off from everything, which was really frustrating to me because one of the things I love about fantasy is exploring new worlds and finding out like new mythologies and just like figuring out how these different worlds tick. And so when I and the narrator were like very closed off from exploring that. It was a very frustrating experience for me in the first book, but I'm pleased to share that this world is opening up so much more in the second book, so I've been enjoying it a lot more.
I'm so glad to hear that. I had the opposite experience, so I picked them up back when they first released, many years ago before Book Talk and Bookstagram were taking off. I happened to see them in like Entertainment Weekly, the first one, Court of Thorns and Roses, and I read it and I really liked it. So I was one of those people who's waiting for the next book to come out, come out, and then I read the second one and just fell in love with it. In fact, I named my dog Reese. I love them so much. I love them so much. So
amazing.
I'm glad that you have found your love for romantasy. It sounds like you're dipping your toe into romantasy for the first time.
Yes. The closest I've come in the past is reading the Outlander books.
Oh, I've read those as well.
So wonderful.
Claire and Jamie.
And yeah, I also felt very frustrated in the first book. So I was like, this guy is not Jamie. And he's not. And we find out later why, or just kind of pick that apart a little bit more. But yeah, I loved the Outlander books because once again, it was more about like, it was a little less of like exploring like the mythology of the thing. It's more kind of like the magic just happens and then the story takes off from there. But it was such a like compelling love story that like grows up between these two people, which is also something that I felt was missing in the first book, but maybe is starting to develop in the Court of Mist and Fury. So I'm excited to see where this journey leads.
Awesome.
How about you, Jessica? What else are you reading right now for you?
Speaking of fantasy, I just am in the middle of one called Fallen City by Adrienne Young. It is brand new. So I, because I am an avid bookstagrammer and reviewer, I tend to read books as they're coming out, often before they come out. And this one is out now. It is in the library. I'm a big Adrienne Young fan. She writes all kinds of stuff, mostly fantasy. This particular one is young adult fantasy. And it has excellent world building. And I'm about halfway through. It's very good.
Very cool. What do you like most about it as you're exploring this new world?
Definitely the world setup and how they interact. They're gods that play a big role in the characters' lives. And
what kind of gods? Are they from a specific pantheon?
No, they're just like all different kinds. They have different like elements that they're associated with. But the crux of it is there are these two very important characters, and there's a rebellion, and there was definitely a love there first. You're trying to figure it out because there's a timeline, right? A timeline jump, and but they have been divided on opposite sides of the rebellion. It's very devastating.
Amazing. I love how like intense and dramatic
It's so good.
YA can be, because that's how the teenage experience
Burning
is.
tension
It's
and
also
angst.
intense and
It was so good though.
Fantastic. Cool.
And there we have it. These are some great picks we've got already. And now, let's take a short break.
Do you need a private space for studying or a meeting? Cincinnati and Hamilton County Public Library offers free meeting and study rooms for reservation. Available at most library locations. Learn more at chpl.org.
Did you know the library offers free printing? Print up to $5 of documents every day for free. That's 20 color pages or 33 black and white pages. Additional pages are only 15 cents a page for black and white or 25 cents a page for color. Learn more at chpl.org.
All right, welcome back to Checked Out. We're going to dive right back into the conversation with what we have recently completed reading. Jessica, let's kick us off here.
I'd have to say in the adult realm, The Buffalo Hunter by Stephen Graham Jones. It's Native American Heritage Month, which is part of the reason that I picked it up. I'm a big fan. I read The Only Good Indians a while back, and he writes this kind of like paranormal horror based in Native mythology. And The Buffalo Hunter is one of these books that you're not really sure what it is when you're starting it. And I have listened to it in audio as well, which is great because there's multiple voices in this particular production. There's like some kind of present day, then you go into the story of this priest who interviewed this native man who is not quite what he seems. And there's some like vampire lore to it. There's some native mythology to it. And the way it unfolds, I couldn't put it down. It's so good, and I am normally a romance and romantic-y kind of person, but just the storytelling in this and the imagery and the mythology is just absolutely captivating. So that has been something lately that I could not put down.
Is the author like connected with like a native tribe or tradition?
He is, yeah, and actually. He's in our Native American History Month Awareness Month stuff right now, and cool. We have there even on our blog post a lot about his history and his tribe affiliation on there. But yeah, and one of the great things about reading, right, is that this is something I don't know a lot about, but he talks about like the Blackfeet and all these different tribes and kind of the Pagani and what they're known for, and also benefit of listening to the audio. I know how to pronounce everything, right? But it's been a really great. It's fiction, right? It's horror, but it's also tapped into mythology and existing mythology, and I just find the whole thing very fascinating and very interesting.
Yeah, and Native spirituality is something that is so interesting to learn more about. It sounds like something that I definitely need to read because I don't spend enough time exploring, how these folks connect with like nature and each other and like what their own, is it like, do you have their own pantheon, or is it more like a connection with nature that they're exploring?
Yes, it's definitely a connection with nature.
Interesting.
Yeah, and I know that you like to read nonfiction, so I feel like this is in particular is one where there's some really good crossover between the fiction and the nonfiction. I gravitate towards fiction. I'm very much an escapist kind of person.
Yeah.
And this one definitely bleeds that kind of line between fiction and reality and horror and reality, and I think that's why I like it so much.
Yeah, I love reading horror, especially this time of year.
I know, this is usually the only time of year I really read it. I also recently read, again, it's the time of year, a romance called Soul Searching by Lila Sage, who she's really actually known for her cowboy romances. But she, very popular, very, very popular. Done and Dusted is the first one. But she wrote one called Soul Searching that was like, about a girl who can see ghosts, and she goes back to her hometown, and suddenly she can't talk to the ghosts anymore, and there's some mystery behind that too. But it's a awesome romance. So with the romance genre, you're guaranteed an HEA, as they say, a happily ever after, which is part of the reason I like to read it so much. So that's another really good one that I've been reading. I am a mood reader, so I'll pick up like 5 at once. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, very cool. One of my favorite horror authors that I've ever read actually writes for children and young adults. Particularly her children novels are absolutely captivating. Her name is Frances Harding, and she has a few titles I remember reading. Cuckoo Song is one that just has this book cover that is just like a doll head without the hair that's like missing an eye, and it's just out there shelved in the children's shelves.
Oh my gosh.
And I love it when authors don't underestimate kids.
Yes.
Kids love scary stories.
They do.
They love horror. They love to feel spooked because that's how they like learn where the boundaries are and like how to think through like their own safety and safe choices is by like confronting, different experiences that other kids have lived through. She also wrote a teen fiction book called The Lie Tree. That is one of the creepiest books I have ever read, where a teenager moves to like a remote island with her family. I believe it's set in like the 1920s, something like that. But it just like the isolation of the experience and this teenager trying to figure out this like dark family secret. It's like so spooky, so captivating. I Love Frances Harding. Can't recommend her enough.
I have to write that down. I have a child who struggles with reading, and scary stories are the only way. We actually started her on Goosebumps a couple years ago. We've progressed into some little bit scarier stuff, so I'm going to write that down for sure. Those are great suggestions.
Awesome.
I know I have a few more books on my list now. Thank you both for sharing those, and we'll take a brief break.
Visit your favorite arts, cultural, and recreational attractions in Hamilton County for free with a Discovery Pass. With your library card, you can reserve a Discovery Pass for 15 local attractions, including the Cincinnati Museum Center and American Sign Museum. Learn more at chpl.org.
To expand access to STEM-related learning tools and materials, the library has partnered with the Library Foundation and Dean Regas to circulate 15 telescopes for use by library cardholders. Telescopes are available at 15 locations, and each can be checked out for a 7-day loan period. Learn more at chpl.org.
Welcome back. We're now at a segment I've been looking forward to the whole show. This is where Maggie and Jessica will recommend books to each other based on what they've learned about throughout this conversation. We're going to kick it off with Maggie recommending book to Jessica. Let's hear it.
So Jessica, when your kids were little, did you guys read together Brown Bear, What Do You See?
Of course we did.
Or Chicka Chicka Boom Boom?
Both. Will there be enough room?
By the inimitable Bill Martin Jr., who passed away just a couple of years ago. One of my favorite picture books that I've discovered in the past couple of years, recommended to me by a children's librarian here at the main library, is called Bing Bang Chugga-Beep, and it's the last book that Bill Martin Jr. wrote before he died. And it's the story of a little blue truck, and it's set to like kind of in the style of This Old Man, but it's this old truck, and the truck goes on adventures, and then as the story goes on, you zoom out and you find out that this old truck is actually like the beloved toy of a young boy who's like cuddling with it at night, which is like so sweet, but it's so beautiful and poignant just knowing that this old truck was written about by a man at the end of just this incredible career of inspiring young children and families to love reading together. Bill Martin Jr. is one of the like absolute masters of the picture book format, in my opinion. I'm a little bit picky when it comes to the stories that I really, really like. I've read a lot of picture books in my time, and it is really hard to write in good rhythm and rhyme. And I know a lot of people give it their best shot, but it's really, really difficult to like truly nail the meter, and he's just a master of it. There's a reason that Brown Bear and Chicka Chicka Boom Boom are like two of the like Titanic classics in children's literature, and that's because Bill Martin Jr. was just the best at what he did. And so I can't recommend checking this out enough and just like exploring this reflection of the author who's given us so many great memories with our children over the years.
I love that so much. And I think it speaks to what you say, that I can still remember and recite Chicka Chicka Boom Boom, I think, by heart. And even kind of feeding back to you a little bit, as your children start to get older, I don't know if you've ever heard of William Joyce or Bill Joyce. He wrote Meet the Robinsons, the movie. He's actually from my hometown in Shreveport, Louisiana, and he's in residence in the college there. But he has written so many wonderful children's books that are like beautifully illustrated, and I really, and all the way from like younger picture books all the way to like the Guardians books that are like middle grade, and he's another really good one as your kids start to get older to look into.
Okay, very cool. Thank you. Yes. Do you have any other romantasy that you might recommend to me as I'm just beginning?
My love language. I am a romantasy person. It's probably my favorite genre to read. I would say once you've dipped your toe in the Sarah J. Maas pool, you have to probably look at some of her other stuff like Crescent City. And Throne of Glass, by the way, is another one. I'm like, just wait till you get to the third book. And that one, I feel like ACOTAR is like the second book. Throne of Glass, you got to kind of wait till the third book. The ones you've done, she wrote the first one when she was like 15.
Oh my gosh.
And so people, like, when they read, the first time I read Throne of Glass, I was like, this isn't great. Oh, okay, well, she was 15 years old. But they definitely get better. So you have to read those. I would say big ones right now that are definitely worth your time. Quicksilver by Callie Hart. Brimstone is just about to come out. She started out as a self-published author who later got picked up and got a gigantic Netflix movie deal out of her book as well, but it's totally worth it. It's very, very good. So definitely pick up Quicksilver if you have not. If you want like a really lengthy, involved story with a lot of books in the series, From Blood and Ash by Jennifer Armentrout is a great one. She's wrapping up that series, but she even had this own spin-off universe and like secondary parts of the series that was built out. That was very, very good as well. Helen Schrewer. I mean, there's so many, right? And the genre has gotten so popular now that I will go into bookstores or sections of the library, and there's just whole romantasy sections. So it's all about whatever you like. But I kind of love that now that there's a lot of fantasy books where the romance is forward and the fantasy world still exists.
Yeah. What do you think is like behind this huge growth in romantasy in the past like 5-10 years?
I think the growth of romance first, I think is what's happened. More and more people are like saying it's not something you have to kind of like hide in your closet anymore, like, you know, and there's a lot more like discreet covers. I think the Kindle has, and e-readers have been part of that too, where romance has seen this really huge growth in readership.
Yeah, it's so far beyond, you know, what we typically think of, like the mass market paperbacks.
Oh,
with
absolutely.
Like, what an old boss of mine would refer to as the bodice rippers.
The bodice rippers, absolutely. I mean,
Fabio on the cover.
The library had Tessa Bailey as the headliner at Books by the Banks.
Yes.
And she's a huge romance
And that line was
author.
out the door.
Yes.
People were so excited to see her. So cool to see.
She's amazing, and she is her Emily Henry, who is local to Ohio. You know, they have just like said, yeah, it's okay to admit that you love romance and that you want a happily ever after, and that you can find some joy in this escapism. And I think when we look at like that joy and that happily ever after, and pair that with the escapism of going into a new world where you can, you know, meet a prince or meet a king or a warrior or somebody who can do magic. You know, the phrase that you'll hear a lot now, especially in the book talk realm, is shadow daddy. You know, somebody who can use like these dark powers for good, but he will like tear down the world for you. I think there's a real appeal to that. And it's fun. It's just plain fun, you know?
Yeah, it really is. I grew up on reading fantasy for like young adults and particularly for like young girls. It was really a growing genre when I was growing up, and I remember the Tamara Pierce series was like the first time I picked up a book and I was like, this is for
Those are very
me.
good.
Yes, but it's and there is like some romance involved in those stories too, which I think, you know, was helpful with like connecting with those themes. But at the same time, there was so much about like finding the inner strength as well, which I really, really love when fantasy explores or like uses the mystical elements of a world to like help the protagonist just like tap into their own inner growth as well. And that's something that I've also been enjoying in the, like, not to, you know, dwell too much on A Court of Thorns and Roses, but the second book, like we're seeing so much more of her finding herself, and also how the interaction with, you know, mysterious dark stranger can add a little bit of spice to life, which is just so much fun. Having a little fun is also great.
Absolutely. I grew up, I jumped into The Hobbit probably in middle school, which was really my jumping off point into fantasy. And I'll never forget dressing up as Arwen, you know, for Halloween. And I just loved it. And so to find, but I also was always a romantic, you know, and to find this genre that blends two of my favorite things, I think it's just really fun.
Yeah.
So
yeah, the Arwen story is so beautiful and sad and
good.
haunting, and I mean, just what a true testament of love to sacrifice your immortality to be with someone who, you know, in and of himself, like, has a destiny to realize, and yeah, it's a great story. Love those books.
I love it.
Yep.
What a great conversation. Jessica, thank you so much for joining us today. Maggie, thank you. Really appreciate having you on.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thank you so much. This is so much fun.
And there we have it, the first episode of Checked Out, a new podcast by the Cincinnati and Hamilton County Public Library in the books. Thank you for joining us. We're going to be back every Monday with a new episode just for you, again, talking about all things books, all recommendations, just like today. And we've got a special episode lined up for next week about a service some people might not know about, but is one of my favorites, called Book Hookup, where library staff produce customized recommendations based on exactly what you like to read every day. We're going to talk how the service works, how the books travel to you, what types of information that these librarians pull and gather and use to inform their decision. And let me tell you, these guys can recommend a book. I know from personal experience, and I can't wait for you guys to hear it all next week on Checked Out. I'll see you then. Checked Out is a podcast presented by the Cincinnati and Hamilton County Public Library. It is produced by Paul Wellington. It is sound engineered by Steve France, hosted by Joe Armstrong, supported by the CHPL brand team, as well as the hundreds of library staff across Cincinnati and Hamilton County. Thank you for joining. We'll see you next week.